We warned you. We tried to warn you. Committing and recruiting, both of them, are about to heat up.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein. That's him. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. We'll talk about Gametime in just a little bit. This is an actual special episode, but still, thank you everydayers for being here every day. Thank you newbies for being here today. And thanks everybody for making this your first listen every single day. You are the best. A lot has happened since we cut the podcast this morning, Jimmy. That's why we're wearing the same clothes.
I think I was just here less than 3 hours ago.
It's crazy. Now, you and I mean, we considered ourselves to be plugged into a degree. I mean, we don't call every prospect all the time, but we didn't have an inkling that Jet Tamala was going to commit today. We did think, okay, he could be our guy. It felt more and more like Jet Tamala was Alabama's number one choice, but it was also, hey, you're our number one guy, but we need to make moves, and you need to, blank or get off the pot, one of the two. Now, I'm not saying that he was given an ultimatum. I'm just saying recruiting moves fast these days, and you need to go ahead and get your quarterback in the boat because those are usually the Pied Pipers. And for those who don't know, Jet Tamala is the number one prospect in the state of Nebraska. He was committed to Iowa State. He's a 4-star on all services except ESPN. We also believe ESPN and Rivals to be the well, I don't even know if Rivals is a thing anymore. We usually associate them with having the least accurate of the rankings. But I love this guy. Look, if you want to be impressed with him, go check out some of his YouTube tape on football and on basketball. This kid's a real athlete. I want to really quickly tell you what Andrew Ivins of 24/7 says about him. He said he's a decorated prep signal caller with some peaks and valleys on the game tape, but one that has a chance to emerge as a winner on Saturdays. Looks the part with a budding frame that's pushing 6'4". He set multiple records as a junior while leading his team to its first state title in 15 years. Let's also go ahead and preface all that by saying Nebraska high school football ain't Alabama high school football.
Yeah, I got a lot to say here, a lot to unpack, as the kids say. First of all, in terms of how great a prospect he is, On3 ranks him number 10. So as far as I'm concerned, that's On3's ranking. They're the best in the business. I'm going to call him a top 10 quarterback because On3 ranks him number 10 prior to Elite 11. I'm going to be watching Elite 11 like a hawk. I do every summer, nothing new there. But really watching this year to see how Jet Tamala does because like Luke just said, this is why that Elite 11 stuff is so important in this case to know exactly how good he is. Jet Tamala's numbers and what he looks like on tape is fantastic, but he's playing against not great competition. I mean, it's not the competition that you see at Thompson and Spain Park and Hoover and big schools in Louisiana like West Monroe. It's nothing like that. But at Elite 11, a lot of those variables are removed, and you get to see a kid's actual, real, raw talent. They don't play real games there, but you get a great look at what we call the clay. The clay will be on display at Elite 11 side by side with all the other kids vying for, number one quarterback in the U.S. So he's a top 10 quarterback. Regardless of the competition, though, Luke, these numbers stand out. I don't care if you're playing against air. Well, and I guess you wouldn't be if this was the case. But 47-3. That's the touchdown interception ratio, 47-3 in his junior year. Those are phenomenal numbers. I don't care at all who you're playing against. 47-3, that shows the production. The size speaks for itself. He's basically 6'5". The basketball tape that shows him dunking around like he's some sort of modern day Vince Carter, that shows the athleticism. You watch the football tape. I did. I admit, first time I watched the football tape, I'm like, I like this guy. Not sure what kind of athlete he is. Because basically everything is from the pocket. He looks a little gangly almost in terms of the way he's built, and everything's kind of from the pocket. And I question his athleticism. I'm like, I'm not so sure this guy's an SEC athlete for the position. And then I watch the basketball tape, and I'm like, well, he absolutely is an SEC athlete at this position. The basketball tape, once again, showing that off why so many football coaches want to watch these kids play basketball. They do, to get a look at that. Bama comp, still working on that in my head because this is tough. The closest one I can come up with in terms of who he reminds me of as a Bama quarterback is A.J. McCarron. I think there's a lot of A.J. here, but he's a better pure athlete than A.J. And A.J., keep in mind, was a long-time NFL backup quarterback and a fifth-round draft pick, and probably is going to be in the College Football Hall of Fame. I think Jet Tamala is a better pure athlete than A.J. was at the same stage, but I do see some similarities in their game, and quite frankly, they're ranked similarly, or I think they will be by the end of this process.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm really excited about this. I'm most excited because I think this is the guy that they really wanted. Now, yeah, of course they pursued Derek Zammit, and you and I love Derek Zammit, but let's be honest, we loved him for his name more than anything.
I think they're an hey, we'll get to see an Elite 11. Let's stack them up. Yeah. Derek Zammit and Jet Tamala, head-to-head Elite 11. I like them both. I think Thomalla has more upside. I know that sounds like, well, of course you do, you Alabama homer. No, I'm saying Thomalla has more upside just because I like the basketball. The basketball highlight dunk and the 6'5" stuff. He's got more upside. Zammit may have a better feel for the position. Zammit looks more polished to me, but Thomalla looks like more upside. And isn't that what you're recruiting? Upside? You're recruiting guys that project to potentially be great. I think Thomalla might be more like that guy.
Yeah, I wanted to talk some more about some of his accolades. In 2024, he was the Nebraska Player of the Year, so as a junior, and so you would think he's the odds-on favorite to be the Nebraska Player of the Year again in 2025 because, again, I'm going to look it up next time you start talking. I can't imagine Nebraska has a ton of big-time prospects. That is not a shot at the people who are. I'm just saying.
There's not many people that live there.
It ain't Alabama, Georgia, Texas, California, Florida.
There's not many people that live there.
And call me crazy, I put Alabama high school football in there with those other states. I know California and Texas and Georgia have more quality-wise. You ain't going to find a lot of dudes as good as Cedarian Morgan, Andre Smith, Julio Jones, just go down the list. Now, so he was a player of the year. He led the team to a state championship. He set state classification record in passing yards, touchdown passes, and completions. He was 250 of 359, so that's about 70% completion.
That's not bad. That's incredible for that many attempts.
Free throws.
For that many attempts, when you're talking about 30 attempts a game, 70% is a lot. It's not a lot if you're barely throwing it, but he's throwing it a ton.
Yeah, I mean,
I looked at this too. I had this question. I'm surprised we don't get this more like, whoa, why isn't the number one player in Nebraska going to Nebraska? Good question. So I looked into it myself. Nebraska already has a quarterback commitment, and it's from somebody they sort of had to take. A lesser ranked kid, but somebody they sort of had to take. Dylan Raiola's younger brother is the commitment to Nebraska. They took Dayton Raiola, son of a Nebraska legend, younger brother of current quarterback that's leading Nebraska out of the wilderness, sort of a must take for them. So don't think that Nebraska's like, well, we looked at this kid and don't care much for him. They were just sort of locked into taking Dayton Raiola.
Okay, so first of all, Blaine Elliott has a good comment. He said, look, if we get Jet Tamala and Jet Washington, Bama will have the airspace over T-Town covered. I would also say we'd have to start practicing in Coleman Coliseum because that is the hangar. But we're not getting Jet Washington. Jet Washington will ironically probably commit to Oregon. He's already been Fong bombed out there, I think. So you can sort of write that down.
He's a duck, but don't fret. I think J-Raw Edwards, Edwards. I think we've said, mimicking what they're saying at POL, and we'll be a little more detailed because we can. Or I think it's more rev share NIL type thing. You were never getting both Edwards and Jet Washington. You weren't going to blow that much of what you have to spend at the store. When you go to Walmart and you got a certain amount of money, you don't want to spend it all in the safety aisle. I think that's basically how that works. So no Jet Washington, but I love the Jet thing is cool. What a cool name for a quarterback, Jet.
It is pretty awesome. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And the only thing is, he better be good, or people are going to start saying he's more like a Wright brothers plane. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this jet could crash.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have to be pretty good. Now, I looked up Nebraska recruiting, and like I feared, it's not loaded with a ton of high school talent. And again, I'm not taking shots at the kids. I'm just saying overall, I think you people know what I'm saying.
Well, he is number one.
Well,
it'd be worse if
it'd
be worse if we're saying Nebraska never has any good players, and this kid's number 23.
And he is. Here's the other thing. I'm going to tell you something very interesting. I just noticed this. So Jet Tamala is number one player in Nebraska. On the composite with on three, he's number 205, and he's the 13th best quarterback. Again, he's at the Elite 11. That may change it. He may go up. I think there is a possibility for that. I'm being optimistic. Now, the second-rated guy is a three-star. He's number 561 in the country. After that, the next three guys are all on Jet Tamala's team. Amarian Jackson, who's an athlete, Landon Van Sergen, who is an interior lineman, and Isaac Jensen, who's a tight end. Now, those guys, so think about this. No wonder they're winning state championships. Jet Tamala is now headed to Bama, that quarterback. Amarian Jackson is an athlete committed to Iowa State. Landon Van Sergen is an Illinois commit, and Isaac Jensen is a tight end committed to Missouri. That is, and then they have the number 12 guy in Nebraska, who's number 1,246 in the country, but he's a running back. He's committed to Illinois as well. That is some crazy talent in Nebraska on one team.
On one team, that reminds me of Bishop Gorman and Nevada. There's very few big time schools in Nevada, and like half of the best prospects in Nevada are always at that one. Well, let's see how we're going to need some jet fuel. I agree, Ridge Runner. And how about this question?
Are you going to read it? I mean,
yeah, I'm reading it now. You read it. I was reading. It's kind of long.
You can't say, how about
this question as I'm reading it in my head, because I'm making sure before I read it out loud that there's no bad words in it. We get that sometimes.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's do this. Let's address this question when we come back.
Perfect.
And now I don't know how to get that question off of there. Yes, I'm about to. And I'm going to tell you about Game Time. Game Time's the absolute best. I've already told you about Game Time once today. I'm going to tell you twice because it's that awesome. I'm telling you Game Time 2 times. It's a game changer. I don't even look at the live read most of the time. I really don't, because I've used Game Time so many times myself. Football, basketball, pro, college, baseball. I've used it for comedy. I've used it for concerts. I've used it for everything. The panoramic seat views, chef's kiss. The best pricing guaranteed, also chef's kiss. And then the customer service, it doesn't even talk about this in the live read I'm supposed to do. I say this because I love their customer service. I had a problem one time. It was my screw up, and guess what? They helped me. A real live person helped me. Can you believe it? In this day and age, everything's AI. Game Time helped me with a real live person. I was elated because it allowed me to go see Bryce Young take on Tua Tagovailoa. But yeah, go check out Game Time. Use code Locked On College for $20 off that first purchase. Locked On College is the code, $20 off your first purchase. But if you're listening to this, you've probably already used Game Time, and you probably already know that I am telling you the truth. Game Time is where it's at. Now I've got to try and get back to that question. All right, here we go. Do y'all think with the new settlement that there will be less than half the transfers there are now, meaning instead of an average of 20 in the portal, maybe only 5 to 10? I do think this is going to change some of that and quash some of the number. Jimmy, don't you?
I do, Troy. That was a great question, and of course, we're guessing it's a new world for everybody. And the thing about a new world is, right, there's unintended consequences. There's things that look kind of obvious, but then all these things happen. They're like, boy, I didn't think of that might happen. But I think fewer transfers should result if the reality is there aren't whopping differences in money anymore. Like I've said, I know this sounds crazy, but I do know this. There's like a player maybe valued in the portal that Alabama thought was worth $300,000 that would get like $1.8 million from the school that he chose. That happened during the Wild Wild West time. Literally, that happened. So Now, I don't think you'll see stuff like that anymore. If it works out as written, as intended, as the idea behind all these rules, there won't be some dramatic difference in money anymore. There shouldn't be. In terms of offers from in Power 4, there would be a tremendous difference between offers from a Power 4 school and a Group of 5 school. There would be tremendous difference there, but not between, let's say, Alabama and Texas A&M or North Carolina and UCLA. There shouldn't be an enormous financial difference. The schools, however, are working as we speak. How do we get around this NIL Go stuff? You know that they're trying to figure that out.
Yeah, and because I meant to put this up when we first did it. See, I have a lot of good intentions. I don't actually follow through a lot of them. But there's another picture of Jet Tamala. So in case you want to see it. And is that me or is that the old New England Patriots logo on his helmet?
That's not Jet Tamala. That's Tony Eason.
Steve Grogan, even.
Like old-time Patriots quarterbacks. Jim Plunkett.
I'm going to go off record here go off track here for a second, I should say. That, man, I've always hated the Patriots. And I know Zach Blackerby is like a huge Patriots fan because I've always been a Dolphins fan. And I have never forgiven the Patriots for beating Miami and what should have led to a Miami-Chicago rematch in the Super Bowl of 85. Now, Chicago may have blown Miami's doors off, but Miami's the only team that beat Chicago that year. They beat them
40 years ago. 40 years ago. It's 40 years ago.
Oh, I'm still PO'd. Hey, Jimmy, I still hate the Braves because they used to preempt Space Giants on TBS. So, yeah, I hold it.
Every time you say that, I keep thinking you're going to say they used to preempt the Andy Griffith Show. I forget.
No,
I forget they preempted a show that only you and 6 other people were watching. But nevertheless, I'm that way.
Listen,
sometimes I like stuff that only a handful of others like.
You want to go down a rabbit hole? Then you go punch in Space Giants on YouTube and see Goldar, Silvar. I mean, it's it was Transformers before they were Transformers in some really, really terrible live action scenes. But I think one other thing I wanted to talk about when it involves recruiting, because it's a correction to the podcast earlier, but not a correction, just a change, I guess. At the time, we thought Tristan Keys was coming to Alabama for a visit. Tristan Keys now is no longer coming to Alabama for a visit. And what's very interesting is it was basically said, okay, Tristan Keys visit canceled. So we just all assumed Tristan Keys was like, okay, I'm done. I'm done. But Tristan Keys has since come out with a tweet that said the visit was canceled on me. I didn't cancel it. And I had my bags packed and I was ready to go. It brings up something that a friend of mine texted me and said, it kind of feels like this was one of those situations where maybe Alabama, Sedarian Morgan, Tristan Keys all involved, and Alabama's like, look, if Sedarian, if you're coming, we will quit shopping and you come here. We're going to take one big boy, big time wide receiver and you're it. That, again, that's all a theory. I'm just saying it makes some sense.
It makes a lot of sense. I'll just say, 2 things about that. Sometimes when something happens, we don't have all the facts, and we don't have all the facts here, other than Tristan Keys is saying, "Hey, they canceled on me. I didn't cancel on them." So I'm going to take the kid at his word, and sometimes that's not even the right thing to do. But in this instance, I have no reason not to take the kid's word. Why would Alabama cancel the visit? The first thing that comes to mind is they're done at receiver. They're done. And for Alabama to be done at receiver, what would that mean? I agree with Luke that it would probably mean C.D. Morgan, Brian Williams, and maybe if there's enough rev share left over, Owen Cabell from Tennessee, who is visiting this weekend. And we've talked about it before. Luke, we've talked about it basically every show since the House settlement. You can't spend all your money at one position. You can't do it. You're like, why would you turn away that? Because you can't spend all of your money at wide receiver because then you have nothing left for the offensive line or running back. I mean, it's about spending your money. We all have NFL teams. Luke just said his favorite team forever has been the Dolphins, and he's still mad at the Patriots. Have you ever seen an NFL team that needs 2 wide receivers go and get the 2 most expensive free agent receivers? They can't do that and stay under the cap. They get one expensive free agent and then try to address the other one with either value or through the draft. I mean, this is how college football is going to work now. And this isn't an Alabama thing. This is just how it's going to work. So I agree that's the first assumption, but it's also true this. When you assume, you make a rear end out of you and me. You know what I'm saying? So you can, assuming doesn't necessarily mean you're getting it right, but that is my assumption, right or wrong.
I did see somebody, just Blaine Elliott said, Bones suggesting we will take 2 QBs. Who's the target now? I'm scouring BOL as you were talking.
Probably Tawa from Utah.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, I'd be a little shocked if we took 2 QBs. Me personally, I feel like, but now the coaches are the coaches. I'm just saying, okay, if you take 2, I think you're assuming one leaves that's there. I mean, that's 5 quarterbacks. Now, granted, rosters can be however many you want now or whatever, but that's a lot of quarterbacks, Jimmy.
I agree that on the surface, I would say no to 2, and they won't take 2. But however, Bone is certainly, Bone gets information from places too, I don't dispute what Andrew's saying. 2 doesn't make some sense to me, but let's consider this, folks. Ty Simpson is a redshirt junior who could have a great season to move on to the NFL. I know that sounds fantasy right now, nor am I telling you that that's my prediction, but that is possible. Ty has a great year. He does have NFL tools. Ty could be gone after this year. Keelan Russell is almost certainly sticking around with, I'm sure people will be nervous if Ty's really good and comes back for his 5th year. People will be nervous about Keelan. I have no reason to think he would leave, but people will be nervous about that. And lastly, Austin Mack. And, not enough people talk about the talk is Ty's the quarterback and Keelan's the quarterback of the future. It's fair for Austin Mack to say, what about me? So I could get signing 2 based on the fact that all 3 of the guys you currently have are threats not to be back next year. So I get taking 2 in that sense. If you're taking 2, again, watch the money. The second guy would have to be inexpensive. There's no question that has to be the case. Quarterback's the most expensive position out there.
Got to give some props to Hale Southern. I just put it up there, but he just dropped off a pointless business meeting to quote unquote go to the bathroom to listen to the emergency pod. That's the kind of dedication we appreciate here at Locked On Bama.
I'm 55 years old and I use emergency and bathroom in the same sentence all the time.
Louis C.K. once said when he asked his doctor said, how often do you have a bowel movement? And Louis C.K. said, I don't know, but every trip to the bathroom for me is an emergency. Does that mean like there is no like, oh my God, I got to go in a few minutes. It's like, no, I got to get up.
To all our young fans out there, look what you have to look forward to.
There's no doubt. So the other thing to note, Jet Tamala will be visiting this weekend. So he's going to be visiting after the Elite 11.
How about Iowa State, by the way, being on the Jet Tamala train early? That's some good evaluating. I would give them some props for that evaluation.
They're in Nebraska. And it's like they're right there. Iowa's probably got as many prospects as Nebraska does.
Sure. But what I mean is they recognize his talent very early when he wasn't highly ranked and he didn't have these offers, and they were the first to kind of press. And I look at their most recent history of quarterbacks. Rocco Beck, their current quarterback, is an NFL prospect. He's very good.
Yeah.
Rocco Beck, and the guy that had before that, Brock Purdy. Y'all probably heard of him. So we
thought he was coming to Bama.
Oh, and they actually had a guy in between Purdy and Beck, Hunter Deckers, who was good and then was involved in like a gambling scandal and sort of fell off the earth. I think he's in an NFL camp right now, but Hunter Deckers was pretty good too. So they're on a bit of a roll at that position.
2 things really quickly. Chad the Great with an 8 in it says, I don't understand why these kids commit before taking all the visits to the schools that are important to them. Don't commit, then take other visits after. Well, first of all, there could be, this is, again,
that's
just
great
hypothesis.
It's a great statement.
There could be money involved, number one. Number 2, the school may say something like, hey, we need to know you're on board. And then the kid
Yeah.
may say, okay, I'll take the spot because I don't want to lose the spot.
I'll take the spot. I think kids are pressured.
Yeah.
Kids feel pressured. Some kids, not all of them, not CD Morgan or EJ Kroll, but some kids feel, or they're told, I better take a spot or I might not have one. You know,
I'm gonna give this guy a shout out to come on another podcast and say that his podcast is the greatest channel of all time. That's brazen. And I almost respect it, but he's wrong. So then there was one other thing. Did Tristan Keys cancel his visits? Yes, he did, or cancel his visit to us. I mean, so, and I think I'm taking this as very good news. I honestly am. I feel like, again, Alabama's going to land Sadarian Morgan. I feel like they'll land Brian Williams the day before that on July 1st, and they could get Owen Cabell, as Jimmy mentioned. So there's your wide receiver room. Boy, if you get those getting 3 wide receivers and 2 quarterbacks, there's 5 spots, Jimmy, and like at least 2 or 3 of those guys, maybe 2 of those guys are kind of not reaches, but I don't know.
If you're in the NFL wide receiver, wouldn't you feel pretty good if what happened was you're like, gosh, we need 2 receivers on our team. So in free agency, you get Justin Jefferson, and then you select a wide receiver with your 4th round pick in the draft.
That's what you do.
I'm fine with that. That's kind of, or even a 2nd round pick in the draft. I'm just saying that's kind of what you do now. I know I know we got spoiled by Saban. Just that the Saban recruiting is really 2 eras of college football ago. 2 eras ago. Because it wasn't the Wild Wild West. That's really kind of been the last 2 or 3 cycles. Saban kind of got in on the tail end of that. But before that, it was just a different world. And again, for those that are like, you know, well, what about these other schools? Let's see where they rank. Alabama was 3rd last year. Let's see when this all shakes out where Alabama's recruiting classes rank. For those concerned that you're not stockpiling 5 stars at one position, let's see in the wash. Where does this all come out in the wash? Alabama's going to be very, very high. I don't think you're going to see teams out there that out-recruited Alabama because they signed 3 5-stars at every single position. I just don't know that it can be done in this new post-house settlement era.
I'm right there with you, buddy. Well, that's going to do it for this particular emergency podcast, and we will be back tomorrow with
Appreciate
more.
The comments. Appreciate the comments. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, you guys are the best. I've said that a million times, except you, outlaw of college football, 2nd best YouTube channel next to
literally us. Living up to his name, crashing our podcast.
That is what an outlaw thing to do.
Living down to his name.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you, and roll tide.
Roll tide.